ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cold, these brothers my guys. Know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cold, these brothers my guys. Know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die.
Well, hello there again. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to your second MSF stream of the night for yours truly, and the first in my post-MSF world. Z Vitality, good to see you again. What up, Flint? What up, Tony? What's going on, Emma? McStonk? Nope. I'm still super retired. Papa, I will allow Beta to speak for himself. What's going on? Books by Tiffany. Emma, hello, Lion, Burnsy, Rello, thank God you're here. Mart, hey there, Al. What's up, Buffalo Love? Carlton Bankshot, that's a great name. What's up, Eros? Greenie. Hello there again, Shiro. Hey, Mex Carnage, welcome back. Hey, Gonzo, Tajian, Shoeless. You retired? No, I'm not coming back. I'm done. I'm super duper done. But the as you know, while we were chatting earlier, Beta popped by and he wanted to have a few words with you fine folks, and figured what better way to do it than after I'm no longer playing this shitty game. So happy to be here. Happy to have Beta and a few other people have joined in chat with us this afternoon. So hey Beta, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Well, I'm not crying anymore. My puffiness has gone down dramatically.
I'm laughing at some of the commentary that's scrolling by. Okay. Yeah, no, I popped in earlier because I know there were some questions flying, and there's some topics that I wanted to cover tonight. So thank you for setting up the platform for being able to do this. But I sent out a notice on the PV server as well, and I think I titled it something about let's talk about MSF community and how to be a better player or a better person. So let's start out with MSF stuff because I think there's a few things that I would love to share there. And I'm going to have a little. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say I know you sort of got a direction that you're trying to go with this, but sort of first things first. As I was streaming earlier, there was a very quick notice that went across the bottom of the screen that said Beta had left the alliance. So before we get going, you wanna tell people where you went to?
Sure. So I am in the old Pants of Hulk shell, aka a retirement home. I will go through a lot of the rationale for why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I am also at the point where I am going to be lessening my involvement in this game going forward. I am in a little different position in that I've been intimately involved for quite some time with the Players Council and the Players Voice movement, and I want to continue to support that for some period of time and help with what I can do there. So I'm not as abruptly exiting from my involvement in any form or fashion around that. But I am at a point where I just don't want to do the time commitment for the game anymore. And I'll go through some of that rationale as we talk tonight. So I'm happy to sit in a place where I can do Crucible as I want to, and that's about it. I don't need to raid, I don't need to do wars, I don't need to participate in events. I'm not going to be spending any money in the game. So this is about as close to as a retirement home for me as I'm going to at this point.
Yeah. So moving forward for Beta and playing MSF is just gonna play Crucible.
Yeah, if that, I'll see how much I want to continue to do that, but basically it's time. And in a lot of my rationale, we have some similar reasonings for why we're at the point that we're at. I would start out with a statement that I believe neither the company nor the community wants to get healthy. I think there are lots of issues on both fronts, and unfortunately, I think both are sort of blind to seeing what those issues are or how to get them resolved. From the company standpoint, there's some very good people that work there. It's unfortunate that the community has not had the opportunity to interface with a lot of the ones that we've had the opportunity to work with through the council and through the movement. People that passionately care about what they do. And then there's just unfortunately some people, I think, that the job's above their pay grade or their pay grade's above the job. I don't know how you want to word it, but I just think there's some people there that need some career counseling and some help in how to do their job better, or maybe seek other positions that don't involve what they're currently doing. I think Decimal Point Jeff needs to go find another company to work for. Absolutely. Without fail.
I feel like there's more than a handful of Decimal Point Jeffs.
Yeah, well, there's Bugged Off or Betty, and I forgot how many different names we have for them. So, they've come a long way on some things, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done with them and the engagement that we've had with them and the people that we work with there. But I still feel that, things aren't being transitioned So like when we work on something, like for example, don't have events end on a Monday, alliance-based events end on a Monday, because people
Yeah.
change alliances on Sundays, right? And we've had them remedy that in the past, and then it shows up again. So it's just, unfortunately, the prior decisions aren't getting carried forward. So we feel like we're kind of having to beat a dead horse here over and over again sometimes. So that's
Yeah,
frustrating.
it's a super common sense approach that it's sort of like folks just go out of their way to make it a problem. Like why?
Welcome to the Cum Zone.
Jesus Christ, it's so loud. So the one thing that I've never quite understood is why the company just continues to get in its way on a lot of super common sense practices. That this being a prime example of one.
Yeah, and I can't say because we're not intimately involved, either of us,
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis with communications, seeing people do their job. It just feels to me like maybe there's been some change of roles or some turnover, or I can't say for sure what's going on, but the legacy of do it this way is just not getting communicated forward. And so it's frustrating because as players, as the community, as the council and the PB movement, we sit there and go, well, we already got this addressed, why are we addressing it again, right?
Yeah.
So some of it is things like that. Other things are just the communication. So one of the things I'm really proud of is that they do listen to us. And one of the things has been about better or let me rephrase that, more frequent communications, right? You've
Mm-hmm.
got to not be radio silent. You've got to get more information out to the player base. So the good news is they've been doing that. The bad news is somebody really needs to teach them how to write communication. So the problem is it's coming out and it's confusing, and they're not running it by either the envoys or the council, and then it gets published out there, and then we have to help remedy it. And meanwhile, the community is up in arms about it. So it's frustrating on the outside to kind of see that stuff happen. On the flip side, I don't feel any of us should be an oversight, an overlord, if you will, where you have to get our approval to do things. But by not involving us more frequently, we're not able to help head off some of that stuff. And I'm guilty. Sometimes I'll write things and it makes sense in my head, and then I'll show it to someone else and it's not quite coming out the same way. So I just feel like that validation process isn't there for them to validate what they need to put out, make sure that the messaging is going out correctly. So it's things like that that are very, very frustrating.
Well,
They're like I said. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say. I mean, it seems like there's for years now, I've been talking about the lack of quality control at the company, but it's to me it just feels like it's turned into a complete desperation to do anything that they can to grasp onto an immediate dollar, as opposed to any type of true planning for a better experience that would incur that not incur, but that would give them the development to be able to seek additional revenue or positive revenue. It's just complete desperation in everything that they do on both a micro and a macro level.
I think again, some of the thoughts that I'm going to share, I want to caveat too. They're not subject to change. That's number one caveat. Number two is that these are going to be my perspective or my feelings. These are not official Scopely positions on things. So I want to make sure that people don't take that to heart, that these are just my opinions, okay? I think you're right in that. I think part of it is a rush to get things out to the community. I think if you look at the lifespan of a mobile game, I think they grossly estimated the longevity of this game. I think had they foreseen that the IP, the Marvel IP, was really going to carry this for a very long time forward, I think there's a lot of things that they could have done in past years that would have positioned themselves much better for handling the growth And when I say growth, I don't mean just in terms of revenue or player growth. I mean in terms of the functionality within the game, right? I think that caused them not to do the things that they needed to in terms of, I don't know, properly modeling an economy, properly figuring out the trajectories that various player categories should be able to achieve. It, that we talk about it sometimes as the new player experience. We also need to factor in there the mid game experience, the end game experience, all of that stuff. I don't know because we've never seen this stuff, but I just got this feeling that a lot of it is more of a test the market, see if it reacts. If we don't have pitchforks, then we did good. If we have pitchforks, then maybe we need to adjust. And I think that is really driven by a belief early on that this wasn't going to be here at 6 years or however long it is now, right?
Yeah.
And the potentiality for it to go even further. So I think that's what's led to it. And then I think it's to a degree of what you were talking about, that it's a rush to get things out in the market, whether it's driven by revenue or if it's driven by a need to get the functionality there, what have you. I think people are just rushing sometimes way too much. And when you rush, you make mistakes.
If you'll allow me, just from the developer perspective, to make a little asterisk on what you said. From the studio perspective, nothing you said was incorrect, but there's a reason, and it's not just scopely dumb LOL. The studio, right? And it's me saying it, so it's crazy to start. But
you heard it here, folks. First, folks.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Scopely's smart.
No, I didn't.
He just said this conversation is not scopely dumb.
Yeah, it's okay. So you have to look at it from the perspective of a development studio that was formed with the exclusive idea of we have to use this IP or lose this IP, which is how the game was originally developed, with spaghetti code, as we used to call it, from 3 other games that were spaghettied. And then, as a studio, they were the first introduction of Fox into the gaming world, into the mobile gaming world. Fox Next was their launchpad. They didn't know this had to be successful, and it had to be successful fast, or else that entire studio was shutting down, which is why they outsourced 90% of what they were doing. Then Fox sold everything to Disney. So they had no idea if their next paycheck was coming. Right? They were no clue what was going on. So they're like, what can we do now to make us profitable enough that someone will buy us? This is the first 2.5 years of the game. Scopely bought them out a year, 2.5. And from that point on, it's been the exact same logic. It's okay. Well, now Scopely has 2 games that were gangbusters profitability at the time. So we have to now take the parts that work from MSF and apply them there, and take the parts that work from other places and apply them there. And they never had long enough leadership with long enough vision to ever be it's truly astounding that this game exists. From a studio perspective, I cannot stress how we could say it's the IP, but it's
it was
so
a product
many
of a lot
different
of things.
It's so many different things that made this studio stay afloat that nobody in charge ever felt like they were standing on steady ground. So it was always okay. And then, we go back to about, 9 months ago, almost a little bit under a year ago, when they finally realized, we are making way less money because all the net 35s, the net 50s from Google Play and everything, Xola's net 15, but that doesn't matter. All those came in and they're like, wow, we made significantly less money. And then they had to kind of adapt. And that's where you can kind of tell when a lot of these changes, especially for players' voice members, where the reciprocate, not the reciprocity, but the availability to even listen opened up widely to at least a group of people. So a lot of what happened is luck for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
yeah.
I don't disagree. I think that they kept kicking the can down the road, and a lot of different circumstances happened. And I don't dispute it all, because I had been pushing with them for a council to come together at least a year to 18 months before this movement started up, and kept getting, oh yeah, makes sense, let's do it, but it never came to fruition. So I agree, and we're not stupid. We've known this from the get-go, that there was a series of events that had to have happened for an agreement to come to the table, plus some leadership changes and some philosophy changes about, hey, we're not necessarily the smartest guys in the room, maybe we should listen to our customers. So a lot of those things kind of triangulated at the right time, and that's what allowed the movement to have the success it's had. Having said all that, though, they made by kicking the can down the road as long as they did, it made the mess of what we're dealing with worse, right?
Yeah.
So I don't disagree.
If you don't plan for a 5-year thing, you're always planning for 6 months ahead.
Yeah,
and if you never, and the longer you kick that can down the road, the more difficult it will always be to start a 5-year plan, because now they're 6 years into the game. Are they going to start a 5-year plan now? Do they think they have 11? It's the same question over and over. It just becomes someone has to just kind of do it.
Well,
and
Scopely, like when they acquired the game from Fox Next, and then the pandemic happened, and just full bore, they drank their own Kool-Aid. Like they thought that all of their success was entirely because of what they were doing in that office space. And I don't know, I mean, like Beta and Sevi, you guys have the relationship with directly with Scopely, and I know Tony's got industry connections all throughout. Like, have they ever truly backed off of that, or do they still think that all of their success was entirely because of them and not because of a situation?
I don't know.
I don't think they ever
they're going to talk to us about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is more perspective based, not asking for facts.
No, I think a couple things. One, I don't think that they are stupid and they haven't realized that a lot of their success came during COVID. And some people are commenting on that in chat, and they're spot on. This is a point we've said when we talk about time commitment in this game, that I think the game was going through some sort of natural growth progression. That
and
COVID
Wayne,
hit.
thank you for the subs, man. I really appreciate it, dude.
COVID hit, we all got locked down, and then gameplay went up, right? So I think they saw or experienced an abnormal spike from what they may have had as a normal trajectory, which I think sort of fed them the mental or the mindset of, hey, we've latched onto something here. This is good. It's going to keep growing, and not realizing that, that was I don't want to say a blip, because it was a 2 to 3 year blip, but it artificially changed the dynamics of the business model, right? So I don't think they're ignorant to that fact. I think they fully recognize that fact. I think the frustration that I know I have and others have, again, this is just our perspective, this is not actually any official conversations or anything like that, is that I don't think they've gotten to this point of understanding that we're all back in the workforce again, and that we don't have the ability to put in the time commitment that they continue to want to press in the game. I understand in mobile games, the concept is more time in game translates, or the belief is that it translates into more revenue, right? More time in game, the more likely a player is to see an offer that they bite off of, and therefore they're going to go purchase it. I don't think that they've accepted the fact that there is I've used this example with some people I've met with before. It's like you're climbing a mountain, and you've got to be careful, because when you get to that top, if you push too far, you're going to fall off the opposite side of the mountain and come tumbling down. And you've got to be very careful. And I remember there's a person I met with there a long time ago who's no longer there, who said, and I'm glad that they're no longer there, because you're going to understand it when I repeat this statement. This was just a lunch meeting I was having. This is long before council and all that stuff. I use that same example, and their response was, well, my job is to push to that, as close to that edge as possible. And I disagree.
That's not your job. There's no job title where that's your job.
Well,
there's no job title of almost set off the bomb. There's bomb,
Well, yeah,
there's bomb
yeah.
disposal, and there's bomb creation. You know, like
Yeah, and so the problem
Hey, don't
with
forget
that
bomb
is-
transport.
the problem with that is an incredibly risky position to take, right? Because it can just take the simplest things to cause a spiral downhill. So that's one thing I wanted to say. The second one, and Shiro and I are both out of the same industry, so I know he'll understand this perspective. I worked for my last company that I worked for. We had a 20-year-old product that had been open source. It had been bolted together, continued to grow until a certain point where basically the code was, I don't want to say, it wasn't spaghetti. It was actually a very well built product, but it was at the end of its life. It couldn't grow any further. And we were looking at acquiring other technology and finding ways to integrate that with our product. And we just couldn't do it. So we had to take a time out. And we basically started rebuilding the product from scratch. Because, you know, tech changes. In 20 years, you've got different software languages you're using. You've got different code bases. You're going to start maybe using web services or other things to make it easier, faster, whatever. And we literally had to pause, and that was risky because you're running the risk of impacting your company's revenue. We had to continue to sort of sell the existing product, but then also pause development to where we could go build this product from scratch again. It was estimated to take a year. It actually took 2 years, and the first iterations of it were not as mature as the 20-year-old product. That's just what happens, right? And so it took some time for that to catch up. And I think that's on an accelerated time frame. A similar problem here is that, you know, using Tony's example, you kept spaghetti coding things together to a point where it really needed to be rebuilt at some point. And honestly, the best time, in my opinion, to have done that was during the COVID time. But again, if you sit back and think somebody's sitting here looking ahead going, gosh, I don't know that this is going to be around in a year or 2 years, or when do I make that investment? Best example I always come back to is my brother, who's older than I am, a long time ago used to talk to me every year, should I buy a TV this year? And I'm like, yeah, if you really want to enjoy it, go get the TV. But there'll be more better things next year. Okay, well,
yeah,
you can wait.
buy one next year too.
Buy one next year, or you know, but the prices will come down in a year. Yeah, of course they will, but then you wouldn't have used it for a year. And he had a horrible time being able to make that decision. And I kid you not, I think he got his first smartphone about 18 months ago.
Wow.
He literally was on a 2G phone until the carrier he was on said, dude,
You
we're
can't
not
use
going to
this
support
anymore.
this anymore in like 2 months. You better figure something out, right?
How do you
So-
exist for that long without?
The
using
answer
a
is you just play
smartphone?
Snake.
Yeah, well, what's even worse is that he does real estate, and the real estate
What?
industry is very internet driven nowadays. And so it was just a very weird experience, right? And then all of a sudden now he knows what text messaging is, and now I get random texts from him all the time. I kind of wish he still had his 2G phone, but it's kind of that same process, right? Of people kind of, when do I make the plunge, knowing that it's going to be obsolete the moment I buy it, or accept the fact that it will be, but know that I'm going to get some usage out of it for some particular time, right? And I think that's kind of part of the issue of what's led to where it's at. I wanted to say, though, having said all of that, and we can come back to, I do want to talk about some MSS specific things, because I think there are things that the community can benefit from understanding or having a more rational perspective on. For me personally, I still think that's workable. I still think that the relationship that we have with them is an open enough one. No, we can't stop stupid mistakes from happening. No, we can't be QA for everything. But I do believe that there is enough passionate people there that want to do the right things, that we can continue to nip away at this and make some progress. And that's what Savvy and the team have been doing, is really helping to spearhead that. For me personally, that is not why I'm making the decision that I'm making. For me, it's I am tired of this toxic community. We are putting a boatload of time. I can't even tell you guys how much time Savvy puts in to helping the community, to helping her cluster, to helping alliances, to helping random players that need help. We spend enormous amounts of time working with Scopely. Nobody's getting paid to do this. In fact, you kind of won't sit back sometimes and go, I'm going to sound like Heartgrave for a moment here. I'm paying to play the game, and yet I'm putting all this time and money into helping fix them. Why am I doing this? But we've always sort of rationalized it away as we want to do what's right for the community, right?
Literally an extra full-time job.
It is.
I would say
It
it's
is.
more than that and I'm not trying to just drive the bus over Sevi here, but I would say that's more than you. As someone who is close to you in and out of game, genuinely, you're running what is considered 5 full-time jobs, including your actual job and the game.
Yeah.
Beta does a lot too.
So for me, as Taco knows, he took an enormous amount of time convincing me to come on streams with him a long time ago. Because I had already had experiences with some of the toxicity of the community. And when I talk about toxicity, I'm talking about people that are doxing people, exposing their personal information purely for the purposes of harassment and personal threats. I've seen it all. And so it took a lot for me to do that. And I was happy to do it. I've always been happy because, as Taco knows, I like to share information if it helps the community out. And so for me, when I first approached Sevi and Ev as they were doing this Player's Voice movement, I said, I'm happy to give you some help. I've got some experience working with some of the Scopely people, and I would love to be able to share that and maybe help do things, not anticipating that I would be back out in the front of dealing with this stuff.
You literally said, I don't want to do that, and somehow you are.
Well,
I mean, so... Fair. In all fairness, like a lot of that
is like a silver-tongued devil.
Well, so a lot of that falls with Beta and I getting close in Discord and whatnot, and then he starts hanging out in the streams and the like what Tony was talking about earlier, like the MSF community has massive amounts of toxicity. However, in the various Twitch communities in particular, there's some really, truly remarkable people. And we've built some amazing communities within the overall community that is extraordinarily supportive and thankful and gracious. And I think the community that we've provided, gave him some hope. Like, because the overall, you go back and you watch the videos that we did with Dark Dimension, and a couple shitty comments, but the vast majority of the stuff was super supportive and super appreciated, and the and Twitch in general, like I can count on two hands how many people, like, just people that I've banned. Obviously a lot of bots, but
yeah, you've been really hit with bots lately too.
Yeah, oh god, don't even get me started with Discord bots. I have no idea what the fuck's going on there. That shit's driving me bonkers. Makes me want to just fucking
it's
close
accounts
everything.
that exist.
See, that's okay. Wait, I gotta stop you. You don't ban them. You create a role that can't do anything, and you give them that role, so they still increase your Discord numbers, but they can't do anything in your Discord. In my Discord, it's called Reed Richards. So
Is
there's
that
like 40.
What that role is?
Yeah, there's like 45 people in my Discord with the role Reed Richards, and they can come in and they can see, but they can't comment on anything.
Oh.
They can't like anything. They can't do anything. And if it's a bot, then so what? And if it's a human being, good. I'm not going to prevent you from seeing it. You just can't be heard. Because to me, the most important thing you can do is shut a fucking voice up that you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Can
So
you can you do me a favor and rename that to Austin Powers so that it can be like, this is me in a box. This is me in a box.
Just real quick, off topic. A theme, if you're in chat listening, that's what's called role-based access control, or RBAC.
Here we go, little cyber.
He's looking to get into cyber, so.
I know.
Oh, I'm so confused what's happening right now. But yeah, so KJ, so I have quit Marvel Strike Force. I'm no longer playing Marvel Strike Force. We stopped earlier today. Very, very happy to be off that wagon. Beta is just strongly reduced in his playing, so he'll be playing Crucible, and that's pretty much going to be it. In the meantime, you'll see him in a little alliance with a few other retirees.
Yep. It's the old age home. What can I say? Anyway, so back to this whole toxicity. So yes, I know. You know, you can tune a deaf ear to it, and you need to for yourself. I do have a better appreciation for what drove Tadano Mac away from the game. I've seen a lot of crap comments come my direction, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit more in particular here in a minute. I'm starting to see them go after other people now at the top, like Platypus Messiah. And I just kind of feel like, you know what? When you get to know somebody, like as Taco and I got to know each other, we develop a playful banter. And I'm old-fashioned. That's fine, right? It's kind of what you do. You joke around, you poke fun at each other, etc. I don't get people that feel like anybody is carte blanche, that they can just go on the attack and just go for the throat and discredit whatever you're doing. So, for example, as Taco was saying, we've done streams. I've done streams with Mobile Gamer, who I love to death. I think he's a funny entertainer. And I'm just going to share a few of the comments that I've seen people say either on chat or on the replays on YouTube. Apparently, I have no skills, only wallet. Apparently, I am one of my favorites is I'm a Scopely employee. Just for clarification there, by the way, the Scopely employees do play on their own dime. They have to pay for it themselves. They don't get a fringe benefit. It's not like working at Baskin Robbins where you get free ice cream. They have their own accounts. They have to buy offers. They have to build them themselves. So even if I was, this is just such a stupid comment. Apparently I'm Elon Musk and I own Twitter. As if he actually has time or interest in doing this game. And I've actually met him, and besides the fact that he's a little loony and bouncing between conversations of rocket ships and electric cars and solar power in one stream, I can guarantee I'm not him. I have literally had people ask me to give them $20,000 on stream. I have seen.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Not friendly people that we joke around with either. The thing though that surprises me the most is I see a lot of people talking financial stuff like they know what the fuck they're talking about. I've seen people talk about how much I spend, talk about how much it costs me to do certain things. One of my favorite ones was after Diamonds came out, somebody who I know is actually in the stream right now had gone around saying that I spent $100,000 in diamonds. Basic math, if you had done it, you could have seen that there hadn't even been 10% of that as offers to even have done that. So the problem is people are mathing this out, and they're mathing it out wrong. And you know what? It's setting a bad perspective. So I started doing some streams recently where I had a really good conversation with Dulam on a run stream not too long ago. It was about a week or so ago. And we were talking about.
Hold on, just full transparency.
Yeah, hold on.
We
do not support Dulam around here. Fuck Dulam.
So, and that's fine. I don't know him from squat.
I'm also also interrupting to say it's impossible you had a good conversation with Doolin, and he's in my alliance. Please continue.
To quote Mobile Gamer, he's a fuckface.
Okay, well, anyway.
Please continue.
It was a good conversation from this perspective, in that there was a realization that he went through and talked to me. So we were talking about DD7, and there are people that have been out there hypothesizing how much it costs to get through it and asking, people are awfully nosy about this stuff too. And it always makes me remember of a time that I have a Can-Am Spyder, which is a 3-wheel motorcycle. If you guys haven't seen it, it's got 2 wheels in the front, 1 in the back. And right after I got it, my wife and I had gone for a day trip, and we pulled into a gas station, and this homeless guy comes walking up to us. And I'm thinking, oh, he needs some money for a meal or, whatever. The first thing out of his mouth is, oh, wow, how much was that? And I'm like, wait, what? So it's about priority and perspective. And I don't think it's really anybody else's business what somebody spends. But having said that, I do want people to understand that when they're mapping it out, they're not doing it right. And this is the conversation that I had with Dylan. So we were talking about DD7 and the fact that to get into it early-ish, and even now, it's a little better now, but it's still outrageous offers and the drop rates are crazy bad on the Orbs. You had basically to core the store and spend gold. And so you could math it out, and I did it too, and I talked to Mobile Gamer early on about it. And if you didn't have any resources saved up at all, I could actually see that it would cost somebody a shit ton of, basically a small car to be able to get through it. I can see how you could math that out. But there's one important thing that people weren't taking into account. I've been playing this game for 6 years, been playing in the top alliances for nearly most of that time. You accumulate resources. This is not a game. This is a resource management hero collector game. There's a little bit of games elements to it, but it's primarily a resource management game. So I used the example with him. I said, okay, so given that you need cores and gold, prior to level 100 cap coming out, I had over 3 billion in gold saved up. It just accumulated. When you max out your roster, you get to a point where your cost playing this game actually goes down significantly because you have nothing to do. So you just accumulate shit, right?
Yeah,
and
you
so
just accumulate and unlock new characters. And
you get
nothing
9 days of storage, 1 day of spending. 9 days
Yeah.
of storage, 1 day of spending.
Right.
Yes.
So I had over 3 billion in gold, and the other thing that
Did
people
they-
weren't taking into account. Yeah, I'm not talking about the other integer issue where they had to.
It's like, did they give you that gold back? Like the stuff that they owed you?
No, they did. They did. There was no interest.
You caused
on it.
a buffer overflow in the database because they didn't have scrubbing correctly.
No,
Sorry, integer overflow.
It was an integer overflow, so they basically held some gold on account for me. And no, I didn't get interest on it. But I
0% interest. That's great for that car that it was back on.
The other thing to bear in mind, and I'm sure my arena shard hates my guts, is I have been sitting in rank 1 since Dormammu came out, all of maybe about 7 to 10 times. And certainly, obviously, since Mephisto's out, I haven't moved at all. So if you factor in, I don't know what's it been, 1.5 to 2 years since Dormammu was out, this is where the lights came on for that CC. I'm not going to mention his name one more time. Where he just kind of stopped me and he's like, wait, so you're telling me you've been earning for free 15,000 cores a month?
Yes.
He's like, wow, I didn't even think about that. That changes the dynamics of what you had to do to farm to get ready for DD7. So I will say, because Max Carnage was estimating here, I don't have an exact number because I wasn't exactly keeping track of it, but you're still too high by a factor of about 2.5 times on your first number. It was around 2K. Not even remotely what people were thinking, okay? I've heard people say 200K. That's how absurd it is.
That's no.
Okay.
So like
but
2
let
zeros
me
off
finish.
of that.
So let me finish, and then we can get back and dig into some of the stuff like that. The other thing that is really what sort of set me off is that when I do these streams, like when I do it with Taco or when I did the Mobile Gamer one, literally people will latch on to something you say and either say that what I'm sharing doesn't matter, it's not relevant. I always caveat shit. It's like you always need to take into account your own personal situation. You need to always take into account your own roster development, where you're at in the game. So my perspective is what I'm sharing. If you can get some nuggets of gold out of that, then I feel very happy. If it's not applicable to you at all, that's okay too. But people latch onto this and they'll say stupid shit like, you know, what I'm talking about doesn't matter. Juicy, whatever his name is, that idiot, will come in there and he says things all the time like, I don't know what I'm talking about, or that I spent a boatload of money doing these things. Or my favorite one was that my advice basically won't apply to 99% of the community. Well, maybe it doesn't, but what are you solving by calling that out? right? We're sharing an experience. That's what mobile wanted me to do. That's what Taco had me do in the past as well. This is the experience of what we went through. And so it's just frustrating when you see this garbage that people do out there. And the other comment, I'm trying to remember what it was related to that. It's going to escape me for a moment. It was this. So I was on Mobile's stream. He asked me just before, right when we started, he's like, well, what did you feel about things? And I made a comment. I said, it kind of felt, DD7 kind of felt to me like planning a wedding where you plan for a year, prepping for it, and then the day arrives, and then next thing you know, it's over before you realize it. My point in all that was it's about the buildup, the anticipation to an event. The event, you all of a sudden you're surreal. You're going through it. You're going through the motions, and boom, it's done.
Yeah.
And this idiot goes and says, "Wait, what? He knew about what was going to be in DD7 for a year? That's not fair." And I'm like, "No, I had no clue in it. The only thing I knew was the same thing everybody knew, was when they started releasing information about you're going to need City, Mystic, City, Cosmic, Global, Legendary, and this new Mythic area. You can put two and two together and start to strategize once you know that information about what are the best characters in those areas. We know Cosmic has the best characters in the game. It's been that way in prior Dark Dimensions between Kang, Vol, and the Eternals, and now of course Void Knight is a great addition to that for our Cosmic area. City has always had some pretty good characters, and now with the Spider Society, we just did some testing over the weekend. If you can afford to do it, I'm not saying everybody can, you can run with the 5 Spider Society and actually just decimate the city nodes. But you've got to manage your resources, and that's the important thing. Every person is different. Every person needs to look at their resources and manage to that. But then their chat just kept going off and on about the whole wedding analogy I used, right? And I'm like, oh my God, it's like you can't say anything without a bunch of trolls latching onto something, missing the entire point.
Yeah, ultimately the point is trying to bring it back full circle to talk about resource management, talk about planning.
Right.
Don't overinvest early. Hold your investment until you can spend it. Right. As far as what characters to upgrade and whatnot. And that's the one common denominator that every content creator has ever spoken about when discussing Dark Dimension. If you're not ready to do it today, don't upgrade shit.
Right.
Like, wait.
Exactly. And that was one of the points that I made on my stream with mobile, and I even referenced when Dorky Dad had referenced it as well. Plan for what you think you're going to need, save up the resources for those characters, but don't actually hit the upgrade button until you're ready to enter that section, because things will change. We know that there's another legendary coming out. They've said that. So hold off unless you're rushing through it now to see what is coming. We knew that there was some more City tunes coming, the Spider Society, because they had announced it. So if you're not in City yet, build up the things that you need, and the moment you're ready to enter it, then you make your decisions, finalizing on which characters you're going to bring and adjust appropriately. And by the way, you can do 3 of the Spider Societies and do Vulture and Lizard, and it still works out really well. Just you need to do the new 3 Spider Society, not Noir and Ghost Spider. You can still one-shot both nodes with that team. So there's lots of opportunities, but we always have known that, other than the one time that Pimtech came out, which was a disappointment, that generally as a rule, future characters will do a better job in this mode. It just really comes down to your resources and how quickly you want to get through it. So it's all of this stupid shit. And yes, I know Reddit's that's most toxic of all. Ironically, Run and Mobile have both said to me on a number of occasions, I don't read those comments because they're just stupid. And then I caught Run commenting on comments on his own one. So I like poking fun at him about that. But it's just stupid. And it kind of makes you take a step back and go, all right, why am I doing not why am I doing these streams to help the community? There's that question comes up all the time. But why am I fighting the fight with the movement and the council to help the community? We have, and the Sevi knows, we have been accused of the council or the movement being Kraken only, that it's Kraken run, that I'm the only one running it, that everybody kowtows to my way, which is absolutely the opposite truth of what it is. We have been accused by the Krakens of this is a free-to-play movement, and it's just tiresome that you try to fight for what's right, balancing it out for the entire community, and somebody's always got to be on the attack about shit.
And
it's a no-win situation. Like, that's just not an argument we're ever going to win.
Yeah, and
it's not.
To just to sort of icing on the cake is a lot of work, a lot of hours, and no pay. This is all.
Oh, and lots of criticism because we're clearly not doing the best job for everybody.
Yep. So the one thing people need to remember. We are players just like everybody else, and we're doing all of this time and effort to try to enable changes to happen. But at the end of the day, we are only advisors to Scopely. They are the business. They still will take our input, decide what makes sense for them and their business model, and either incorporate it or not. And that's their decision. We can only advise. So you have to trust that we're conveying as much information to better the entire community as we can. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is their decision what they're going to do. Sometimes they've listened, and I've been very proud of that. I wanted to share a couple examples of that. Sevi's going to probably smack me for sharing a couple of these, but everybody knows the red stars have been completely flattened. Unfortunately, they listened to us on that, and they went a little too far. But that was very important to us, that when we first heard about diamonds coming in the game was around July of last year. Our recommendation was that you cannot bring a new progression system. June?
Yeah, well, and it was June of last year to go into effect. Was it in July?
In July.
August? Yeah.
No, in July.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said no. You kill your game.
We said no, you cannot introduce a new progression system without fixing the existing systems.
Yeah.
And they listened. They delayed it. They delayed it to September originally, and then October, and I think it was November when it finally hit. But they went overboard from what we were expecting. When it comes to red stars, we said you need to make them more available. They translated that to we're going to flatten it completely. And so I know personally people that within the first 2 or 3 months of them doing that, they literally went from maybe 27 red star characters to 80.
Yeah.
I know other people that had 80 that all of a sudden said my entire roster is maxed out on red stars. So I'm very proud of that they listened to us about that. The second piece we said is you've got to bring guaranteed farmability to yellow stars. And they listened to us about that. And I think that they've lived up to their bargain on that. And there was some challenges we had with certain content creators and arguments that we can get into a little later about this particular aspect. But I think the important thing is that they have delivered. That yellow star has been guaranteed to within 120 days, that they'll be first farmable and 6 months for complete farmability for an engaged player, and that they also committed that characters would be relevant for longer than the 6 months too. So it's been that give and take where they have listened to us. The other one that I wanted to share that is important that I think we had a big success on was we saw the Kiln Tower, the first version of that, about a month or a month and a half, I think, before the envoys knew about it. And when we were presented it, it was going to require 7 reds and 7 yellow stars to play the levels. We immediately,
oh my God.
Right? We immediately said, bad idea. Let the difficulty of the levels dictate how far somebody can get through. Let them feel bad if their roster's not built big enough. Let it be on their onus. as a player that they need to do something more, rather than you being the hard gate to it.
Yeah.
And they immediately listen. The guy that's in charge of Kiln is a super, super cool guy. I wish the community could meet him. And so he immediately listened. Unfortunately, when the envoys got to see it about a month and a half later, they forgot to turn that off. So when they got to play test it, they saw it with the barrier. And of course, then drama and all of that came out on the streams about, oh, this is going to be bad. We had already gotten agreement that they were going to remove it. And so it was just unfortunate. That's a misstep, in my opinion, on Scopely's part when that happened. But they do listen to us. That's my point in all of that. Okay. So that's why I'm not disencouraged or whatever the word is right now.
Unencouraged.
Unencouraged.
Or discouraged. Discouraged.
Scopely's willingness to listen and participate and make changes. Sometimes they do what they do because they believe it's right for the business. Sometimes they forget to do things that we've already worked out. And sometimes they listen and they make some positive changes. So that's just some points about that. And then I also wanted to talk about the other frustration factor with the community has to do with achievability. And what I mean by that is I get it, right? When a new event comes out, I don't think they're very clear about what is achievable for a free-to-play player and what is really, everybody calls it whalestones. What is the whalestone territory? Let's just call it spender territory. Then that can apply to all sorts of things. It can apply to an expectation what they think people will be able to achieve in Kiln Tower, for example. And so I don't think they're very clear about that, but on the flip side, I think the community needs to get over themselves. If you're a free-to-play player, you're not going to have access to everything. It's just the reality of this type of game.
Yeah.
And I think, because I used to be that way as well, I think I just learned to accept that. And, you know, like if it's a tower, you can't achieve all 40 floors this time. I know it's 46 now, but you can't achieve all 40 floors this time. They don't expect you to, but they expect maybe the next time you can or the time after that you can. And I think people just need to accept that this is a resource management game. You will get there. Vendors are pinged to get there faster. That's just the reality. We want to we want to trade money for time is usually what it comes down to. I totally respect the really super engaged free-to-play players. And in fact, for me personally, I know some amazing players in this community that are way more knowledgeable about things than I am. But the reality is a strong free-to-play player that's engaged, I think should be able to compete with a spender that's not terribly engaged. But a spender that is super engaged and super smart will always have an advantage. And that's a deadly combo, in my opinion. And I wish people would sort of accept that we're all one community and we need to stop fucking fighting with each other and calling each other out and work together because the issues are with Scopely and not with each other.
Agreed.
So for me, this is why I'm stepping out. I'm not stepping out because I believe Scopely can't get it right. I'm not stepping out because I don't like my alliance or my alliance mates. I'm stepping out because I'm just tired of the bullshit from the community. And if you guys want to turn and focus on platypus now, please don't. You know, you don't do this with pro golfers, right? I play golf. I don't have the chutzpah to go spend the kind of money on the gear that a John Daly is going to go outfit himself with because I'm not that good of a golfer. But I'm not going to shame him over the fact that he bought custom clubs or that he plays a different game because he has better clubs than I do.
Beta, there's a thing about this it's very important and it's not always at the front of people's minds. Okay, so to kind of encapsulate everything, because you've actually managed to get everything into one point for me to say, it doesn't matter how much anybody spends on the game. Sorry, it shouldn't matter how much anybody spends on anything at any time ever. But it has to matter. And the reason it has to matter is because of how the game is designed. You don't ever have to answer that question, as you had mentioned when somebody asked you how much your spider was. Like, you don't have to answer that question. But the reason the question exists is not always someone who is nosy. It is often a comparison that people are constantly making between where they are, where they want to be, and where other people are. And that is something as a game that has failed for years. That where you should be in the game, there are games that exist right now, both mobile and full-on like actual real games, that you understand that there are people that spend more than you and have more than you, but it doesn't take away from your enjoyment of the game.
Right. It should.
That is not true in this game.
Yeah, in this game, people find it offensive if you spend, and I've never been able to wrap my head around.
But it's not inherent. Don't get me wrong. There is a wallet envy. I'm not going to try to say that.
Yeah.
But there's also the fact that I currently can, like you just mentioned, Kiln. I can't go past the 441 in Kiln. Why? Is it because I don't spend enough money? No, it's because I happen to be missing the resources to bring up one character. But if I don't spend money, I'm not going to get those resources right now. So, and my management of the resources is generally decided as I feel bad. Do I feel bad about it? Yeah. Do I feel in any way bad about it to make a comment outside of this one example? No. Whatever. I don't care. But that's not the experience that the players, if you've been playing this game for 6 years, you've seen ups and downs and sideways on a lot of things. And I've said many times, this game is the best it's been right now since the first 6 months of its release. This is the best version of this game. But it's still not good. It's just the best it's been. And that's an opinion, and I'm more than willing to say that's an opinion I have that a lot of people may disagree with or call me names over, and that's fine. But that feeling, that enjoyment, that feeling of I'm accomplishing something is something that you have to manage in a service as a gaming as a service game, a gas game. You have to make sure that every single player at every single point feels like they are progressing towards a goal.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
it's hard to do when it truly is hard to do when Mephisto is months away for some, 3 months for some, 6 for others, and I don't think anyone's more than a year away unless you are truly not aware of how to play the game, but like a year away for others.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard for anybody to hype about something that is a year down the road that other people have right now. That's just a fact.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, and this isn't so much a Marvel Strike Force problem as just I don't know if it's generational or where it's come from, but there's so many people in the community that if you don't agree with them, it's literally the worst thing that's ever happened on the face of the fucking planet. Like, people are allowed to disagree and have different perspectives on shit. And if you want to attack someone because of their perspective, then you're in the wrong 100% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as your perspective doesn't hurt people. I'm just going to put
Correct.
that asterisk there and walk away. We both agree on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
And that leads into an example I wanted to talk about tonight. So I'm going to use an example of that happened to me directly. And it had to do with the diamond conversation. I don't want to go into a lot of the details of things that led up to this, but let's suffice it to say that there was some disagreements between Dorky and me in particular, but I think us in general, he didn't have a lot of the background of things that were coming that we knew we had conversations on. He had a hissy fit, and then where I lost my respect for him, because I think Dorky is a phenomenal player, but I think he is a prime example of somebody that if you disagree with him, he's going to go out and spread bullshit and shame the community over you. So he proceeded to tell his alliance that something big was coming, it was going to be bad, and that I was personally responsible for it, which was not at all true. But because we didn't see eye to eye, and because he didn't have the whole picture yet, that's just an example. We see it happen all the time from people. If you disagree with someone's opinion, this is to Taco's point, instead of just saying, look, we don't see eye to eye, maybe there's a compromise, or let's just agree to disagree and we can move on to other issues. Instead of just accepting that, people decide that they're just gonna go sham the shit out of you.
They didn't just attack you, Beta. They attacked me and Ev too.
I know, and that's why I have a problem with this shit. And because of that, I won't watch his streams. You and I, Taco, were supposed to have dinner in LA when all this was coming down, and I canceled on you because he was going to be there. And I just was like, I can't respect the guy that does this shit.
No, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, like any time that you feel personally attacked, and not you specifically, Beta, but just anyone, you know, anytime you feel personally attacked, like you're going to react in a way that defends yourself, and whatever you have to do to defend yourself is entirely up to you, and it goes back to, you know, what this part of the conversation is about. Like, you have to do what's right for you at all times. And when that is defending yourself, it's one thing, but defending by attacking is completely different. And, you know, I think in the perspective that you're talking about, you know, you felt like you were being attacked, and for good reason. You know, I mean, like, anytime you feel that way, you have to react accordingly. So,
well, here's the irony in this whole thing, which is why I harped earlier about when people come up with bogus information and they start spreading it and people echo it, and then it starts to become no longer myth, it becomes lore. The funny thing about shit like this is, using the diamond example, and we've heard this too, it goes back to the comment about this is just Kraken run and we're just doing whatever the Krakens want or what we want or whatever. Logic is getting thrown aside. If anybody had just for a second thought through the logic of this, when we were presented, remember we said we were presented the idea of diamonds in June, they wanted to go live in July. If this was about us, if Ev and I and Savvy had said, I'm not going to take into account the community and what's right for the community, you know what we would have said? Bring it on. Because at that time, I had nothing to do on my roster. It was already maxed out. So why wouldn't I want it right away to continue to progress? Because this is a game, like we said tonight, about progression. The biggest challenge that we have in this game at all levels, because believe it or not, the end gamers have this issue too, is we don't like being barricaded. We don't like being told that we can only progress so fast, right? And they have barricades all over the place. So whether you're free to play or spender, it doesn't matter. We all have these barricades that we have to deal with at some point. And so for us, and this is why it was equally frustrating to hear these comments from people, is that we were the ones that said, no, don't bring it out now. Fix the other things, improve the progression for everybody. And then when you get that fixed, then it makes sense to bring it out. But instead, we get the reactions that we did.
Yeah, and you guys got it delayed twice, actually. So we found out 2 days before the Envoy Summit that diamonds were coming out.
You guys found out because of beta.
Yeah, so we found out 2 days before the Envoy Summit. Well, no, so we found out what we found out. So I told Beta, because I knew he knew about it. I was like, they just told us that diamonds are coming out in 2 days, because it was literally, they were going to come out our first day at the Envoy Summit. So the
It was
beta
in 2 days.
and
It was in 2 days.
was it the day before?
Cerebro told you guys on a Friday, hey, I've got some information to share with you guys. And I'll get you more details on Sunday.
Yes.
Of which he did not, and he
Yes.
did not get it to you guys until 10:30 on Monday. I was heading to lunch with Scopely coincidentally that day, and the announcement was due to come out at noon.
Oh yeah, it was that day. It was the same day. Yeah, you're absolutely
right. So you guys literally had an hour and a half notice about a whole new progression.
And so they so at the time there was a lunch meeting taking place, and it was able to be delayed for a week, and then we got to the Envoy Summit, and we had a lot of long discussions about it, and there was some adjustments that were going to be made, and this, that, and the other, and it got pushed out even further along, to which point more pandemonium, came to fruition. But the moral of the story is it was stopped twice by the players' movement, and I think that's super important to know, because it could have been a complete shit show. Like, literally, Diamonds were supposed to come out in July, and then again the day, 2 days before the Envoy Summit. So it was just absolute the worst communication I've ever been a part of. I don't have a better way to put it. It was just it was a complete shit show. And
yeah, there was definitely some miscommunication, because I think some people thought it had been communicated and then it hadn't, and so that's neither here nor there. The issues are that or this sort of dovetails into the second portion of the frustrations, which is there are a lot of things that we discuss with Scopely on a weekly basis, and we are under non-disclosure, and I know some people think we should be able to share stuff. The reality is no, we shouldn't, because if we share stuff, then they're not going to share stuff with us. So the whole reason to have the non-disclosure is so that we can get into future plans and help to potentially shape them. Given that, it's challenging for us because we live by the letter of that. We don't share what we're not supposed to, because we want to continue to have that impact. There are others in the Envoy program that dance around that line a bit. And the problem,
a bit.
I'm being political. And the problem or the frustration that the entire council has, and Sevi and I and the leadership of the movement, is that there are many things that we are able to have an impact on, but we can't. We have to operate in the shadows. And normally I don't mind that. And I don't mind the envoys being the mouthpiece of communicating out the changes. But more often than not, what ends up happening is it looks like only the envoys are getting things changed or fixed or done. And many times, that's why I use the example with Kiln, many times we've already gotten it fixed. And so it's not that I'm looking for credit where credit is due, but I am looking to make sure that people acknowledge that this is working. And I've been in situations where I've been in arguments with people, a certain mod on the MSF server, for example, who insisted, and Sevi knows exactly who I'm talking about. That's why she's giggling. That insisted that the envoys were the ones that fixed the Kiln situation about it being 7 yellow, 7 red, mandatory requirements to get into it. And I'm like, but you weren't in those meetings. How would you know? You know?
Because I read it on Reddit.
It doesn't hurt, like, it does. First of all, I'm just gonna fucking say it. The envoys don't do shit. Haven't and never will. And that you didn't say it, so this is not gonna go on anybody, but that's the truth from ever. They've never been relevant. They never will be relevant. There's only one envoy that's ever been relevant into the entirety, two, but that one doesn't play anymore. He got kicked out. But one envoy right now that's even kind of relevant to the entire flow of the game, that's Mobile Gamer. Everybody else is part of a group that receives the same information at the exact same time. to tell the same people the same way. So it's a program that's ineffectual as hell. But if people think it's important, then it's doing its job. The downside is you can't take away from a completely separate group to give credit. So if people think the envoys are functional, then it's doing its job whether they are functional or not. Like their job is to give that the heirs of value. But if you take away the work that some other people are doing from it, if you say like, well, we don't need the PV because we have the envoys, I like as the chaostician in me is like, please 1 week, let's see, right? Like it can't work. But the program just needs to exist in a world where you said shadow council. It doesn't have to be a shadow council. It just has to be very clear and concise everywhere, all the time. It just needs open communication that you said at the beginning. It doesn't, I don't need to know, like I mentioned in the past, everybody found out that Old Man Logan is coming to the game through a data mine that was produced by an envoy who did a JSON rip.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyone, that's information any human being could have found out with a quick Google search.
Correct.
And a YouTube tutorial.
But that's the next legendary. That is a big deal in terms of the game. That information should have been at least addressed minimal by the company, and then maybe from the Envoy program. Like that's an oversight that's like, oh, well now we took away a hype, right? Granted, not everyone's gonna hear about it, but it's there now. It's out, and it didn't have to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was my fight for the entire time that I was in the Envoy program, was trying to get the envoys the ability to make announcements that the community would be excited about and get interested in, and the embargoes that they put on that shit literally ties your hands behind your back, where you, if you're in the Envoy program, you can't say shit, and it's absolutely fucking an exceptionally ignorant practice that does nothing but hurt the company and hurt the people that are in the program.
Well, and it hurts.
You're gagging your mouthpiece.
Yes.
So don't get me wrong. I didn't want this to be completely about bashing the envoys. So I truly believe that there is a place for both the envoys and the council. They both have a purpose. Mm-hmm. They both have a mission. They don't really overlap each other. The problem, to Tony's point, is that the program has morphed in ways, because of reasons in the past, to being something that it shouldn't be. I think somebody said it in chat just a few minutes ago. They are essentially unpaid marketing employees. They are a way for the envoys
that
to
aren't
get
given tools to market.
Well, yeah. So I'm going to get to that. Hold that thought for a second. So they are given early access so that they can get the quote scoop, and in exchange, the company gets access to a community of followers, right? And so it should be a mutually beneficial thing. The problem is the program's broken from a couple of aspects. One, to your point, they have not given the envoys enough relevant content to produce a regular stream of information. So that's problem number one. Then when you have a certain envoy that scoops the information, makes up his own theory crafting of how he correlated all of this together to come up with why these are the characters coming out, whatever, it's unfair to the other envoys. So I'm very supportive of the frustrations that the envoys have when they get scooped when they're under embargo, right? That's just not a fair thing. Having said that, that all falls on the company to fix. Yeah. They need to get the program rolling where they're giving a steady stream of information to the envoys so that the envoys aren't frustrated that all they're producing every week is, how to beat this squad in Crucible or how to do this in war. That is all on the Scopely side that they need to fix, and they need to better define the boundaries of what the Envoy program should be, that the envoys are not expected to be player advocates. I've seen people talk about this before. It's not that some of the envoys don't have some very valid opinions here, but more often than not, this is not meant to be a bash on any of them, more often than not, they're not playing in highly competitive alliances. They're not playing in highly competitive game modes. Oftentimes I've watched sorry.
Ouch.
I watch their streams, and sometimes they get a lot of advice from their stream followers, which is fine, and I love watching the interaction. But I don't expect most of them to be able to say, look, at the high end of wars, this is what we need competitively. They just don't participate to that level. So I think that is on Scopely to figure out how.
And that's a general
is
statement, not a
That is
blanket
general.
statement.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. But
Beta, when you said
having-
okay, finish.
all right. So having said that, the flip side of this is the envoys need to fucking stop creating clicks and clickbait and drama, only to come out and resolve it as if it was not an issue. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. You go watch
That's
it and
what
you
gets
find
videos.
out. I know, and unfortunately, it's setting a tone. So let's take Kiln Tower.
Think about who you're telling that to, by the way. Just reminding you. Like, think about the person. Like, I understand that tone. Don't quote the old ways to me, Witch. I was there when they were written. Like,
I get it. But unfortunately, first impressions last. And I know that there's got to be ways that we can help the envoys drive clicks and drive views that isn't creating the negativity. Because the problem is there's two kinds of negativity. There's the kind where it's first impressions on things that don't pan out to be true, but it sets a tone with those that watch it, because most that watch it, frankly, need to be smarter to realize that this is entertainment and not actual news reporting sometimes. And so you have to take it as entertainment and not as gospel. But sometimes people watch this stuff and they start running around, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Take Kiln Tower. People were going, oh, this is fucked up because people are going to need Spider Society. People don't have them unlocked. Well, guess what? Shortly thereafter, content was produced showing how you could beat the floors that need Spider Society without needing them. So it was much ado about nothing. And I get it. It makes certain envoys look like heroes because they're able to show that to community. But the problem is the damage has been done, right? We've already set a precedent. We've set a tone. So that's issue number one that I have with it. As a sidebar issue with that, I really have a hard time, and I think a number of us do, when there's so we play, okay, this is a resource management tool with a game wrapped around it. The game part is the things that I like, the puzzles, solving the puzzles, the challenges. Yeah. Nothing frustrates me more, especially when there's a leaderboard associated, when an envoy produces content of how to beat something before it's even dropped in the game. If it's Dark Dimension, who cares, right? We're all marching towards unlocking a character. If it's Kiln Tower, we're all marching towards getting the highest floors we can, and we're getting milestones. But when it's a Scourge event, for example, where there's a leaderboard based on efficiency, all you're doing is creating a bunch of crap for a bunch of players that now got to keep rerunning it to score higher because you're producing how-to guides. And frankly, I don't want to see a how-to guide. I want to figure it out on my own. And yes, I can turn the channel off and not watch it, but it's frustrating because we're not getting them enough content. This is where I'm empathetic, that they can produce enough information without having to go into the realms of things that probably shouldn't be produced.
Yeah, no.
If it's an 8-day event, and they come out with how to beat it on the 7th day, great, no problem. If it's an 8-day event and they come out with how to beat it a day before the 8 days start, that's not right.
Yeah, no, so I agree with your perspective, with the caveat that I don't agree with removing the ability to do that until they're provided something that will get
replace
them the clicks to replace it.
Not disagreeing with that. I'm not saying that I'm not saying it isn't justifiable why it's being done.
Yeah.
That has to be remedied. I'm just saying it's a problem as a result of the symptom, right? And the symptoms are what
you had said, Beta, you had said that like they're separate, and I think they need to be in the same. I don't think there needs to be a player's voice movement 5 miles of space, the Envoy program. I think there needs to be a department again, corporate Tony talking, like, I think there needs to be an idea that's called community engagement, where the player's voice movement is one side of the coin.
Yeah.
The Envoy program, or a version of the Envoy program, is a second side of the coin. And those two are part of the same meetings, where like one or two representatives from the Envoy program and one or two representatives from the Players Council for the Players Voice movement are communicating the exact same information the exact same way. Maybe one is on both. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, there needs to be an understanding that the envoys are free marketing. That's what their job is. And as a result of it, they should be getting paid by producing content that it watches viewers. There's less viewers now because there's less players now because there's less interest now. And that's only going to change by improving things that are unrelated to this. But the idea that there are people that Scopely's coming to, and again, this is outside looking in kind of, that people are going to, like, you will say, and saying, okay, dude, this is what we're doing. And then you're giving feedback to that. And then that information gets funneled up and then at some point gets funneled down a different slope. That is inefficient. Like that would never exist in a real company.
Yeah. Hold on.
You know what I mean? Like that could never exist.
Beta, have you already put massive thought into this exact same point?
Yes.
That's amazing.
He's done a lot. He's done a lot.
Like, genuinely.
We have had a lot of conversations about this.
I'm looking at it. So it pops on the screen, and I'm like, hold on. Is this what Tony's talking about?
I just looked at the screen, and I was like, I'm going to shut up now.
I did not just throw this together. This has been presented months ago. Right? This is how it should operate. I'm not disagreeing with you. Nobody said that they need to be miles apart. But there is a subtle difference in that the Players Council, in order for it to effectively work the way it needs to, is working on long-term things. And believe me, we get sucked into a lot of day-to-day crap too, right? The event rolls out, it's broken. We spend a lot of time.
Yep.
The good news is that I feel very proud of the resolutions that we've been able to drive them to on compensation for the community. It's way better than it was when they weren't listening to anybody. The envoys have also contributed a voice to that. I'm not saying they haven't been part of that either, but we've both been working separately on helping to push that compensation is better. Communications around the compensation is better. They still make mistakes, but at least that's been better. But this is really how it should operate. Right, we've got Scopely and its various departments at the top. The Players Council is working on things like long-term updates, changes in design, all sorts of things that we can work on about things that are coming. And the envoys need to get a lot more information about what's coming around meta characters, event specifics, all of that stuff. And they have the various medium that they can deliver that on. So it's funny you brought it up, and I was like, you know what? I've kind of already written this up.
When I was working with Disney, when I was doing the podcast and a different channel, they, up to most of COVID, they would just, like, a month before release, they'd send me the screeners of every movie that came out. Same thing with that's happening now. Like, I don't have it anymore, but TV shows, I had them. I was watching the TV shows before they were released. Granted, trust me, I couldn't, if I tried, show it to anybody else. There was steps upon steps upon steps that prevented that. Like numbers and codes and watermarks and everything. It was in finished products. But they gave that to me so that I had a lot of running time to produce content. And it happens now too. If you think X-Men 97, if you think, wow, how are these content creators putting out reactions? Because they saw it already. Because they had a week to kind of review everything, come up with it, rewatch and watch and watch and watch. They see the trailers ahead of time for the most part. That's par for the course in all business. Video games. When I started getting sponsored from video games, I got companies that are like, hey, play my game. V-Rising, play my game. Okay, cool. You know what? I'm not into this game. Thank you very much. That's cool. Oh, yo, this game is really good. I'll make a couple videos on it. When can I do it? Here's an NDA. Here's the release. If you want to do this, that's fine. You know, like, but this is where we're at with it. That's this isn't like an embargo, like, hey guys, we're gonna tell you everything. No one can release a video until 1 o'clock on Tuesday, and then every video drops at the same time. That doesn't help anything. That especially doesn't help like the smaller content creators. It's useless to them. Because the only thing you can do to stand out is be slightly more entertaining, and who cares, right?
Yeah, well, the adjunct to that, Tony, is that because I come from, obviously there's a reason I can put this stuff together. I've run large marketing organizations and operations and stuff. The thing that I see missing here in support of the envoys is, when new content is coming, new characters are coming or whatever, I'm more used to where I, as the company, would give you a bunch of templated information, and that you can now run with that, customize it, make it your own, personalize, et cetera, et cetera. Versus what I see happening now is, okay, here's some clip art of the new characters, here's some text of the kits, have at it.
Yeah.
Right? And then on the flip side, then they kind of look back and go, well, the content that the envoys are producing isn't very professional. Well, maybe if you actually gave them professional content that they could customize, and have
The root cause of that problem turns out it's you.
Yeah. That needs to be looked at internally, not externally.
Wait, you mean a shouting video and an offer review with Reddit screenshots isn't high professional quality videos?
How about
That's cool. Hey,
how about a raid map done in Excel?
Hey, I got one
Like
for
there's
you.
an entire tool on the website.
I got one for you. What if, hear me out, you just gave everybody information?
Nah, I can't do that.
No,
Dude,
you're just being needy. You're just being needy.
it's a layup and people were missing it. It's absurd. It's absurd to me. People know what I've done for a living, and it's so crazy to see this much of like not knowing how to do something very simple.
Well, and it's frustrating for me, and this is where I go back to a little teaser of what I've done in my life. I used to do consulting for a number of years with companies on marketing, and so I'm sitting here on the outside and giving them free consulting advice, which is driving me nuts, because it's like, let me think for a moment. All right, so I'm paying to play the game, and I'm giving them free consulting, which, by the way, I used to charge anywhere from $250 to $500 an hour to do,
which would potentially pay for in-game spending for me for a month.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, this is kind of leading in the back of my mind. It's like, so let me think about this. Kind of frustrated with the game, but I can live with that. Really annoyed and irritated with the trolls and the community and all that. Kind of getting to the point where I can't deal with that anymore. And I'm paying to give it free advice. It just kind of all builds up to the point where you're just kind of like, why am I doing this anymore? Why am I fighting this fight anymore? And it got to the point, honestly, and Savi knows this. I'm going to share it here because I have no bones about sharing this stuff here right now. When I got through DD7,
Do I need to be worried?
No. When I finished DD7, as with prior DDs, the winner gets an opportunity to pick shards for the community. And I've always done it where we put out a poll and let the community pick from them. Now, the funny thing, and I took lead from somebody that actually posted this comment on Reddit, believe it or not. So I started thinking about it, and given all the trolling nonsense, I kind of was like, you know what? Excuse my French to everybody in chat. It's nothing personal towards anybody in particular. Fuck the community. Why am I doing this? I would much rather take the resources that whatever funny money the shards would cost the company, let's put a monetary value to it. Don't know what it would be. Let's just, for argument's sake, say it's 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever. And I would rather scopely donate that to a charitable cause. I lost both of my parents to cancers. I have a very good friend that was recently diagnosed with larynx, cancer of the larynx, and had it removed, and he can no longer speak. I've got many other people in my life that I know have been touched by cancer. And I was kind of like, you know what? There's people that could use it. And granted, there's many other charities, so don't get me wrong. I'm not favoring one over the other.
Yeah.
But I literally said, fuck the community. I don't want to do shards. They don't appreciate it anyway, because I see this commentary out there. Oh God, I can't believe how much money he spent to do this. Blah 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 blah. Oh, when do I get my free shards?
Yes.
Right.
I've been saying it for years, Beta. I said always pick the worst character. Just every time. I've said it when it was Tadano. I was like, pick the worst character on the pool, and then just double fingers.
That was my goal. That was what I tried talking Beta into doing, and then he went a more wholesome route with the let's see if I can get them to donate to a charity. But
he
I
ran
was
those by us too.
I was in the fuck 'em category. Give him Scientist Supreme. But
no. It was
they came back. Did they not come back with a different offer though?
Yeah, they basically said, no, here's the list we want people to pick from. So I get it, and we can all say this and joke about it and all that. I was kind of serious though. I kind of wanted this time. I even wanted to say, if Scopely's willing to pitch in, let's go out to the community and see if we can't, match it from a community standpoint or something like that. I do know, I found out that when Tadano won it, I don't remember which DD that was. He wanted to do Hulk for the community because it was the one character
DD2
that he didn't have 7 stars on. And they said no, because you'll earn him naturally through whatever way we used to earn Hulk. So
Dailies.
Achievements.
It was both. There was one that got 5 Hulks in the dailies.
Fear me, so fun. You heard it here, folks. First, folks, Scopely hates charity. It
is an interesting take, Taco. That is the take.
Beta, you're aware of the industry I work in very closely, given conversations we've had. Sevi, you as well. Tony, even you. Beta, what I find very interesting about the whole, there should be one umbrella, and that's player development or community development, whatever you want to call it. That functions very much like hosts at a casino.
Yeah, my other favorite.
Hold on.
But I'm not wrong.
Yeah, hold on. I thought your other favorite was OnlyFans.
It's pronounced Tonely Fans. It's where you can get pictures of my sweet, sweet butthole.
Oh, goody. Another website to add to my block list. Anyway.
Oh, God.
So, I don't know. I hope a lot of this makes sense. It's been a long journey for me to getting to this point mentally. I've been playing this game for 6 years. And I just don't want to put the time in anymore.
Yeah, so have you put a timeline together on when you plan to officially make your exit? Because you put a lot of thought into this, so I'm curious where you, not necessarily a specific timeline, but what do you have in mind that you're shooting for?
So given all that I've said, I still have relationships that I respect and admire, and I still want to see change happen for the better. And so I'm still going to support Savvy and Shusky and Path and the rest of the council as much as they want or need me going forward until such time as they're like, no, we've got it.
Oh, no. That means you're staying.
That means it's never leaving, Beta.
Yeah.
No, you're never leaving.
Yeah, you need to
Beta,
define
it's time
this,
to
Beta.
change your number and your haircut, bro.
Yeah, Beta, you need to define
new
this.
phone, who dis? It's get those hombres and start saying new hair, new me.
No que eu pronunciamos muy special, que bueno, y tú?
At the low cost of Goose Goose Duck Fridays, you too can be part of the Marvel Strike Force
Saturdays.
Yeah, just every Saturday, Goose Goose Duck is just MSF people not talking about MSF. It's wonderful.
No, it's for me. So as I mentioned early on in the stream tonight, the player council was very close and intimate to me of having that come to fruition. And so to finally have that happen, in fact, I used to talk to Ev. So for those that may not know or remember, there was and I know it's of lore now, the exact number, I believe it was 47-page document that was put together. Is it 45? Okay.
It's 45.
There's a 45. Now there's
That's
two
a trauma
extra.
tone for those who are
There's,
unaware.
there's extra because we've got to have a cover page and a book end at the back. But anyway, there was a 45-page document produced by the Player's Voice movement to get Scopely to come to the table, and that's what allowed us to move forward with the council. There was a lot of people then, or I wouldn't say a lot. There were some people back then that were like, "Oh my God, they're never going to read this. This is way too comprehensive. Reading is hard." I mean,
Well,
I
it
know
was
Tucker wouldn't have
reduced though.
No. You know what we did?
The
We
45
made the
was
font
what they ended
size-
up getting.
We made the font size smaller. We did not take content out.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That is what we did.
Don't you remember in college where like you'd be in a math class and they'd say you're allowed one page
Of cheats,
for this test.
yeah, one
Yeah.
page of formulas, and you're like,
And
all
you-
right.
And you learned
Size
how
6
to
font.
write in like, if it was humanly possible, you would write in type font size 2. Just to get as much on that one. And I remember one class I did that on, I literally had everything I needed. I wrote so small. It
Yeah,
was
so,
on one
so
side.
that's
I didn't
that's
even
just
need to
because
use
y'all
the
are a
other
bunch
side.
of fucking overachievers. Me and Tony increased the goddamn font size.
So I actually have the document open right now, and it's 42 pages.
At what size
First
font?
of all,
At what
that's not
size?
true.
All right. Anyway,
I take
we're
all
going,
of the information. Okay.
We're going down a rat hole on the point I was trying to make here. The point was, I told Ev in a conversation he and I had once, I said, he said to me one time, he was like, "What do you think would be a success that we would get out of this document with them?" And I said, as much as it talks about this needs to change, et cetera, I said, if all you get is agreement to have a players council, you've won. That's all you need, because that becomes the foundation for everything else in that document moving forward that can be addressed. And so for me, that's the victory that we got after wanting them to do it for 12 to 18 months before that. So for me, you've talked to me privately, Taco, many times about you just need to step away.
Yeah.
I can't because of this, because that to me was the most important part of this equation. I can step away from the gameplay, no problem. I'll dabble in Crucible, I'll do my dailies, and that's it. It takes me 10 minutes, I'm done. But helping Sevi and the rest of the group, that's what's important to me. And so when it gets to the point, in all seriousness, where we're comfortable that it's under control and they're comfortable that I can step away, then I will do that. Make sense?
Yeah, it still terrifies me for you. Just because it's undue stress with no
No end in sight.
well, not that it's
No,
no end in
no,
sight,
like,
but like no matter
At
how
least
much
there was
you
a
put forward.
theoretical.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just get scared when I hear something like that, because at the end of the day, you're fighting for something that doesn't have a real effect on you once you decide to set it down and go away. And
A
it's
tangible difference for self.
correct. Yeah, thank you.
But it's
tangible difference for self that I don't see.
But it's never been that for me, and that's the important thing, which it's funny. One of the final kickers for me that sort of pushed me over the edge about this was, let's just leave it as a debate with an alliance mate who I was trying to help see a situation and felt like I was being supportive of them. And the response I got back, I'm going to quote the words, I'm not going to talk about the situation, was, this is all about me. And it's not. It's never
No,
been.
but it has to be some degree about you. Like,
No.
I don't go back to companies I used to work for because I want to make sure they're still doing okay. I don't work for them anymore.
But
Whether they're
this-
doing okay or not, it's
But this
it's not my-
this does not define me.
Yeah.
So I'm in a little different space in my life, and maybe that's why. I'm retired from the tech industry. I've done what I wanted to do in there. Yeah, there's some other things I could have done, but I'm content. I achieved the things that I wanted to. I was able to walk away at an age that I wanted to and not have to wait till I'm taking Social Security. And so I don't measure myself by anything in this world. And that's why it's funny when I talk to people about, oh, how come you didn't do, rank 1 in Crucible? I don't care, especially when like the rewards are the same from rank 1 to 200. Why should I push I don't need that recognition. It's not that important to me. I define
Then it's less about the recognition then. Because you're not quitting because of the lack of recognition. You're quitting is a hard word, but you know what I mean. Like you're stepping back because of the negative recognition.
Right.
Right? Like you're like the community, like that's why you're stepping away. Now you did have a horse in the race. Like you didn't care because it wasn't about beta, and no one's arguing that, I don't think. But you were still playing, and when you were improving the quality of the game, you were still involved in the game that the quality of the game was being improved for, even if it wasn't directly improved for you. Rising tide raises all ships. I'm gonna go with Taco on this. If this is a step away because the things that you don't like were prolific, I just want you to make sure you know that like you're stepping away a good portion of it, but the things you don't like are still going to be there, and I don't want that to hit you.
Yeah, but there's so if I'm not at the top of leaderboards, if I'm not racing on the dark dimension, if I'm not doing the things that the general community is going to be watching on and commenting on, if I'm behind the scenes helping, consulting, and doing the things to help Savvy and others continue to be successful, I don't need to be the one out messaging. I don't need to be the one out championing anymore. Then the negative direct commentary towards me goes away.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree. I'm looking out for you.
Unfortunately, it goes towards, as a player, it's going to go towards Platypus or Fates or whoever. As a community voice, it's going to go towards Sevi or Path or Shusky or whoever.
Yeah, be sure to send those DMs to Sevi. All personal
directly.
Complaints
Fuck you, Taco.
All day. If you don't have Sevi's direct contact me, and I'll make sure you get in touch with her.
Her Discord.
Taco's already built a bot that just tells people to fuck off and go away.
In case you need her Discord, it's scopelyhatesyou@discord.com.
Sevi, did you get my bug report?
I did. I got that. I sent it over.
Oh my god, yeah, we forgot to bomb you with bug reports.
Oh no, it's an actual bug.
No, it's a real one.
Yeah,
it's a real one.
Before I signed off. Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to bring up a couple of Scopely specific things too, by the way. Just to sort of come full circle to you, I wanted to start this whole thing out about talking about our thoughts and opinions about certain things in the game, as opposed to the company and the community and all that. I wanted to talk about, because Raina's in chat right now, and I totally respect Raina. We all know that there's been issues with the open all orbs recently. And I'm not going to say, Raina, chime in and comment, because your comments always crack me up about it. But having said that, I just want to make sure people understand the issues with it, and then I'm going to use a corollary of something else that the community always asks for, unrelated to it, and talk about why that's not going to come to the game, in my opinion. This is not a Scopely opinion, this is my opinion. So the issue with open all orbs is that
it's factually accurate.
Yeah, about as factually accurate as Black Knight showing up in the Blitz store on your stream.
That was hilarious, and you laughed.
that was oh my god, that was all Sable. Sable's a monster.
So we're all frustrated about the open all orbs. There's no bones about that. I was laughing when somebody was saying to you earlier today, as your final parting of playing, why don't you go open 20,000 orbs?
Yeah,
that ain't happening without that button there.
I told him to leave it open for his stream for 2 weeks. It was fine.
Yeah, So we could technically, Taco, find a way with BlueStacks to have you create a macro and just
It's
No.
LD player, but yes.
I'm
Or
not logging
LD
back
player.
in. I also forgot to. I also plan on going in and doing my setting up my Crucible defense to as fucked as I possibly could for people.
Yeah, I heard your comment. I was eating
You
lunch
forgot
and
about
stuff.
that.
Yeah, I forgot before I uninstalled. I'm not going to reinstall. So
Can you do that? Can you change your name to Turtle Shooter?
no, I don't have any cores. I got nothing. I got to spin it all.
Okay. Anyway, so back to the Open All Orbs thing. There is definitely some technical issues that they ran into, obviously, that for whatever reason had not come up before when they did that mass compensation of orbs out to everybody. It's not as simple as bringing that function back, because I don't know if everybody's 100% aware that when that was breaking things in game, it wasn't just breaking your ability to open orbs. It was causing people to get blown out of raid attacks. It was causing people to get blown out of war hits. And so I'm as frustrated as people are that we want that functionality back for people. I would prefer that they take their time and do it right, because the last thing we want is unrelated things to be severely impacted by something that they failed on, and by bringing that back. Because you know that the moment that it goes live, everybody's going to go in and open 20,000 orbs.
20,000.
It's just going to
Or,
bury the.
or in
the
some
platform.
cases, 32 to 40, even if people volunteer to do it for them for $20.
When
Yeah.
your
Yeah,
your
exactly.
service unintentionally creates a self botnet to do distributed denial on your cluster, that is a problem.
Yeah. Please understand, Woke Boomer, it's not related to playing raids. It's a very simple calculus. Every time you do anything in the game, it sends a snapshot of your entire file, which is very small, but it is still a file, to their server, updates, and sends it back to you. And because we have so many random pieces of garbage information in the game, we have 20,000 green pieces of gear that don't matter anymore. We have, whatever resource we have an abundance
For now.
of. And whatever resource we have an abundance of, it sends that back and moves forward and sends that back. And when multiple people are doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, every time you open an orb, like, when you open a red stars, you can only open one at a time. When you open the 10x, it opens the 10 orbs and sends it back quickly. That's why it's not immediate. That's why, depending on your connection, it could happen in 1 second or 5 seconds. Same thing when you sim raids. All of it's connected. And because they have the system set to run completely on their servers, when hundreds of thousands of people, 100,000 people, do it at one time and it bounces back and keeps going back and forth, the entire server stability is basically like when same thing happens to a website, a denial of service. That's what's happening. They need to fix that.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. Shira and I are probably the most familiar with DOS attacks. So they essentially created their own built-in DOS attack.
Denial of service.
Right. So to Woke Boomer's question, the problem is when people build servers, they don't build them to peak utilization, because it becomes very expensive. If you're familiar at all with the solar panel industry, for example, it's the same issue. When you put solar panels on a house to try to reduce your electric bill, it's financially beneficial to do it up to somewhere between 70 and 80% of what you use for electricity. When you start to squeeze in the number of panels that you need to get rid of that last 10 to 20%, it ends up being super expensive. You end up having to put lots and lots of panels because the efficiency goes down. So as a corollary in the tech world, you build servers to an average load, and you make sure you have technology in there that allows you to handle spikes from time to time. But if they become huge or they become too much at once, then you can run into problems. And that's exactly what happened. So we want them to take their time on it, because yes, we want it back, but we don't want them to break the server again and cause problems, because as frustrating opening the orbs might be, it's way worse when people are losing war attacks for no reason. We already have some issues like that. We don't need more of that. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up because there's a question that comes up a lot about why can't we have a sim all button for blitzes?
I knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Beta,
and
if
I-
you don't mind, I'd love to preface this slightly for people.
Sure.
So for anyone who's following along and having a little bit of a struggle bus here, it's really simple. Picture your cell phone. Then picture everybody you know, friends, family, acquaintances, boss, coworkers, like that one person you met one time at a wedding, every single person you have ever met in existence trying to call your phone all at once. That's what happens to the servers whenever this Blitz Sim or Open All comes around. Continue.
Right. And so Raina, to your point, and this is where I wanted to get there. There are two topics around SimAll that I wanted to cover. One is there's technical issues. So similar to the Open All, that's why I brought it up. The Open All Orbs has technical issues that they've got to resolve. SimAll Blitz isn't going to happen because they have a technical infrastructure issue. Can that be solved? Potentially, yes. Do you want them to have it solved? No. And let me tell you why. And this is when we get into a philosophical reason why they shouldn't do it. I hate Blitz. I have never made any bones about this. We joke about it all the time. I'm probably one of the 10 people that actually plays RTA simply because I just hate Blitz that much. If you bring a SimAll Blitz back, what's going to happen is the top spenders in the game that hate Blitz as much as I do are going to have no reason to ignore Blitz anymore because it's a simple thing. They hit one button, they can get an entire Blitz rotation done. They'll have more squads than most people. And so what's going to happen is the leaderboards, which are in favor, in my opinion, right now, for the free-to-play players and the more engaged players that really want to do it, we will win. Exactly, Raina. We will win every Blitz event. The top players, the end gamers, will destroy the Blitz leaderboards.
Go look
So
at your power board rankings and then imagine that being Blitz for the exact mirror.
Yes.
Yeah. So I personally think, my opinion, and I think everybody probably agrees here in voice and on this chat, those are the two reasons, a series of technical issues, and more importantly, a philosophical reason why you do not want a SimAll button in Blitz. Sim button for Arena, sure, why not? Sim button for raids, we've already got. Maybe it'd be nice if they could fix it so it doesn't fail sometimes. But a SimAll
Or if
Blitz,
they gave us more.
Yeah.
well, they need to give us back more in
Yeah,
encouragement.
if you tell the top accounts in the game that they only have to push one button instead of spending time. Right now, probably the top, I don't know, the top 200 to 500 players in the game, I would say don't blitz at all, or only blitz for just the
milestones.
Yeah, the milestones.
Yeah, but even then, there's no rewards. There's no characters released in Blitz anymore. Like it's RTA. They're both defunct game modes. Like it's not even.
Yeah. Now picture all of those people being always the top 200 in Blitz for those of you that need it.
Yep.
All right.
So anyway, so that's where we're at. Just to summarize, so I am stepping down from game playing. I'll still be helping on the council and the movement for the time being. And I hope that the company and the community find ways to want to get healthy, because as I started the stream out, I believe neither really wants to get healthy. And unfortunately, that's not a great relationship. And I think when they both can get healthy, I think that this game has a lot to offer for people. But right now, it's a quandary.
Well, I'm required by law to offer you exactly $1 to push delete on your account when the time comes. So full trading places, $1 whole to be the one to push delete on your account. It'll. I'm required. I have to.
And I'm required by privacy laws to say that unfortunately I cannot consummate any financial transactions with you, because that would require exposing personal information, and I do not allow myself to be doxxed in this community. So I appreciate the effort and the offer, but unfortunately I'm going to have to refuse.
Understood. All right, fine. I'll do it for free. I'll do it for free. Fine, Beta. I'll do it for free for you.
I did have one guy once who offered to buy my account a long time ago, and it was actually a really healthy sum of money, and I will never do it. As Taco said earlier today, my account is going to go to die a death. But it was a substantial amount of money, and it caused you to pause for a moment. And then when he said, "I would be happy to fly anywhere to meet you, to give you this money," I was like, "Yeah."
Less so now. Actually, you had me, and then you spoke too much.
Well, then it gets better because then I found out he's a semi-pro boxer, and I'm like, yeah, that just cinched it the opposite direction. So thank you, no.
All right.
So
here we
be careful what you listen to. Remember, content creators are entertainment. Don't take it all as gospel.
Be kind to one another.
Be kind to one another. Love each other, except for when they fuck you over, and then fuck them too. No. I'm trying to remember.
Show respect to everybody until they cross you, and then ruin their generations for years to come. Understood? Yeah.
Yeah,
I have to say, it's been really awesome getting to know both you and Taco for the last year.
Well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just not playing Marvel Strike Force anymore. And anything that I can ever help you guys out with that does not require me to play Marvel Strike Force, feel free.
No, we're playing Goose Goose Duck.
Yes.
And other games as you pick them up.
Yes. Amongst others.
I am going to miss you, Beta. I am going to miss your insights. It's unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate to watch. It always is to watch something someone is so passionate about fall out of love. And for whatever reason it is. So, like, I'm happy you're happy with this, but it's always bittersweet. And I said the same thing to Taco earlier. Like, it's always a bittersweet feeling when you're like, because you don't do these things about stuff you're not passionate about, right? Like, it's not, there has to be a degree of passion. So even if you were passionate about the friends you made along the way to the point of doing this, or the game you enjoyed, or whatever, it's always got a feel to it. So you will be missed by the people that matter. Let's just put it that way. And by the people who don't matter, fuck them.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all coming on. As always, love y'all. Beta, appreciate you, Tony, Sevi, Shiro, Baka. I'm sure he's still in the cum dumpster somewhere in here. And for those of you watching at home, hope y'all had a good time. I don't think I'll be doing any more MSF streams, but like I said, if they need me for something, I'm happy to come on and help. But I will be doing more streams, and I will never be playing this game again.
So what you just heard is there's a guest appearance fee now for Taco.
Yes. Yes.
It is exactly
I charge with anal beads, though, and just full transparency. Remember that you are pretty, you are smart, and you are special, and I love you all very, very much. In the meantime, hang out with White Noise, and have a great day, everybody.